Welcome to The Kitchen Table, a conversation about faith, music, and culture. Join Shine.fm's ministry director Brian McIntyre Utter and his son Jake around the table for this week's chat.
Welcome to The Kitchen Table. It's a father-son podcast we do each and every week through Shine.fm, and today's a little bit different. It might sound a little bit different because we are on location. I'm Brian.
And I'm Jake.
And Jake is actually not even in the same country as me because I'm not in the United States. Jake, where are you currently at?
I'm currently in Seymour, Indiana at a camp for the summer. I've been here for about 2 weeks now, having a blast, playing a lot of music, meeting a lot of kids, so that's a lot of fun.
And I am actually not in the United States. I am in Riobamba, Ecuador, with a group of 15 students from Olivet Nazarene University through their Missions in Action program. And we are here this week teaching a media camp. We have about 50 to 60 campers, teenagers to young adults, who are here. And we've been here all week as we've been teaching audio and video and graphic design and different things. And so Jake's via phone. We're not sure how this connection is going to work or how it's going to sound, but we're going to give it a try. I have an interesting topic today. I thought we'd do it this way. We've been saving it to do it specifically for this week because of us being here in Ecuador. But our topic is about why it's important for especially our children. And again, our podcast celebrates the differences, and we encourage parents to have faith conversations with their children. That's why Jake and I do this. And we want to encourage you to give your children an opportunity to have an international experience and how that changes us. And so we're going to talk about today. We have some of the students from Olivet Nazarene University with us today, and they're going to be sharing their experience that they've had this week and how that's changed them. But also in the studio, and we're in a studio here in Riobamba recording this, we have some of our campers who are watching us produce this, and I'm going to have them all say hello. So you'll probably hear a little bit of Spanish in the background as well, so don't worry about that. Puedes dar un saludos a todos. Hola! So that's some of the campers here in the studio with us this week. So they're going to be watching us and not understanding a whole lot of what we're saying, but that's okay. Thank you so much for listening this week. Let's start with you, Jake. Jake had, of course, the extended experience living on the mission field for 7 years. How do you feel that experience shaped the person you are today?
Growing up on the mission field, it really shaped on who I am. I would not trade it for the world. I also did go on a short missions trip to Costa Rica, so I have had both experiences. Just with international missions work and trips, there's such a powerful way of watching how the culture is completely different and the way that culture worships God in a new way that you're not used to. It's just really awesome to see, and it's really life-changing.
Okay, so now let's hear from some of our students. Megan, this is your first experience outside the United States. Tell us how it's been and how you think it's changing you.
Well, it's definitely been an incredible experience. When we, signed up for this trip, we knew we would be using our gifts and talents and the things we know about media to serve the students here in Riobamba, Ecuador. But what I didn't realize is how, even though there is a language barrier with us not knowing a lot of Spanish and some of the students not knowing a lot of English, how God's love has just transcended over that. I've got 3 girls that I'm prayer buddies with, and just the fact that they would want to pray with me and to just be a light to me while I can be a light to them. That to me has just been so incredible, seeing God's love and His kingdom come, and that's been a theme for us this trip.
So what do you think has been something that has surprised you the most? Danielle is here with us as well. Danielle, what surprised you the most about the experience of being on this trip?
Well, there's one thing that surprised me most. I think, first off, let me say I have been out of the country as a tourist, but I've never been out of the country on a mission. And I didn't quite know what to expect. I just knew that I wanted to be a sister in the love of Christ with other people and share what I know with other people and try to, I guess, kind of spread some knowledge so that they can in turn spread knowledge. But I think I can't say that anything's really shocked me, but one thing that has been really warming for me is how accepting and loving everyone has been. I get a little bit emotional when I talk about it, so I'm going to try not to cry, but even though everybody cannot communicate through language, we're all communicating with affection and prayer and just a common need to connect with one another. And I think that's just kind of an example of how God's presence is really everywhere, no matter what language you speak and what your culture is.
So we're singing a lot of the songs in our worship times here that we know in the U.S., and stylistically it's a little different, but even if you don't know the songs, you feel something in the worship. How have the worship times impacted you? I mean, everything's been translated, that's been spoken, but and we've had several of our students actually speak in our evening services that we're doing. What have you learned this week through that experience?
I think that just that faith is universal, and everyone's stories are, though there are different details, the stories are basically the same. Everybody has the same desires and the same love and the same needs, and that they can all be fulfilled through faith and through service. So that has been something that has been really awesome to see.
For me, I just, it's so awesome to praise God with the same song, even though it's in a different language. You know that you're praising God, even though you don't know exactly what the words may be. If it's a song like 10,000 Reasons that we're familiar with, we can kind of know, this is the song that we know to praise God, and they're singing the same thing. And though we aren't singing it in our own language, we can still praise God with the same amount of power and might. And just to be in a room full of people, whether it's our team or the students, but when you hear all of these voices singing together and all of these just claps, it's just awesome. It just makes you want to, sing as hard as you can.
Rejoice.
So Brady's with us as well. And Brady, I wanted to just get kind of your perspective on the trip so far, how you feel this is changing you as a person.
Well, as a person, as someone who struggles with hardcore social anxiety, I'd say this trip is forcing me to become more open and conversational with people that I wouldn't converse with normally. And so it's really bringing me out of my shell, and that's one of the great things about this trip and why I think God brought me here.
Excellent. We have to eventually prepare to go back to our home culture, and you're going to go back different. We know that. We've talked about that. What are your expectations going back?
My expectations are that I tend to be somewhat introverted, but what I would hope is that when I return, that I will be more open to sharing this experience with people without being prompted, but just go around and kind of just share the experience and what it meant to me and what it could mean for other people, and hope to inspire other people to do the same.
I think for me, it's going to be a matter of knowing and seeing here how God is using us, and then going back and wondering, if we can still make the same impact in our homes, which of course we can. And, God moves everywhere and works everywhere. But just seeing him work here has been incredible. And so I just hope that, when we go back home, I won't forget how God has moved, and that I'll still continue to look for him in every moment and every day.
You've been on lots of mission trips,
right,
so you kind of have an idea of what to expect.
Right.
Was there anything on this trip that was a new experience for you, something outside of what was expected?
Well, when I go out, a lot of times I'm by myself and I'm going out to teach somewhere, and I have interaction with those I'm teaching. I've had the camp setting, and I've had just like the class setting or workshop setting. This is great because our campers are teenagers and college students primarily, and lots of our teaching people here, the students we brought down are teaching the classes, are also their same age. So I'm seeing an incredible amount of connection and interaction, which is quite interesting because many of you cannot communicate well. Thank God for the Google Translate app that you all have. That seems to be working well. We do have translators, of course, that are stepping in. But even with the language barrier, the cultural differences, you are building deep connections. What they've done is they've the campers were allowed to pick someone they wanted to be their prayer partner. And so each one of our teachers, our students, have 3 campers that are their prayer partners, and they are developing deep relationships with them and learning about their lives and their families and what they want to become and take out of this life and the difference they want to make. And so it's incredible to see that. I've not honestly experienced that at this level. I've taken other groups of students out, but we've never been interacting with students their own age at the same time. And so, I had it all prepared the first night after the first day of camp of encouraging you guys to interact more with the campers and try to communicate with them. And you guys just were doing it. That speech was not given because you guys were just handling it. It's amazing how technology has completely changed our world because you guys can be connected to these campers from now on and communicate with them, connect via Facebook, and Facebook translates what you type automatically many times, and with Google, and stay connected to them. And our world is so much smaller now because of that. I think that's been a really neat experience. It's been a neat experience for me watching you all and how you're doing it. And honestly, I'm super proud of this group.
I think that's so awesome that even a veteran missionary can find a new experience on a trip.
Always have to find new experiences.
That is probably one of the coolest things I've ever heard. I love I've always been a big fan of connection between just not even words, like through actions and through prayer. And so it's really cool that you guys are really taking that up to the next level.
I think that's pretty cool too, because with how we can't always communicate through words, we try through Google Translate, but I think what's meant so much to me, more than just words, are the motions that we try and use to communicate with each other, because it shows we're trying to connect. But also, even more than that, the hugs. When someone reaches out to give you a hug, that to me means so much.
Something that comes to mind is that old saying, actions speak louder than words. So if you say that you love someone without actually acting upon it, it doesn't really mean anything. But I think here we haven't really had to say it. We've just been more showing it, and it's been a lot more profound than just walking up and saying, I love you to someone.
What would you say to maybe a parent who's listening as to why it's important to give their children an opportunity like this?
It is a great opportunity for students like us to use our gifts and talents to serve others. And the theme that we were given from our university for this year was Your Kingdom Come. Seeing God's kingdom, just bringing God's kingdom into this world, and just being a part of bringing it to other communities. And so we've seen that. We've been a part of that, and hugging others and praying with others, even though there is a language barrier. But I think for me, just having the experience of seeing God in a new way, seeing that God's love transcends language barriers, because that's something I wouldn't experience at home. Because being in the Ecuadorian culture, there's a lot we don't understand, but it's just a new perspective, new to see God's kingdom, and hugging and praying with each other and showing each other love.
And it also would give your kids the opportunity to put into practice everything that they are taught, everything they learn from, whether it's church or from their parents or extended family and friends, to take that around the world and put it into practice and extend their family essentially globally. So I think it would be extremely important for every kid, from young to young adult, to experience something like this regularly.
For me, it's I'm not a very emotional person. I don't show my emotions very well. The other night, we had an altar call, and I was in tears. That doesn't happen, especially in public. Probably I'll never see God actually on earth, but I think that's the closest thing I'm ever going to come to it.
When we set out the idea of this center that we put here in the camp as a part of it, we call it a media discipleship center. And the reason why we call it a media discipleship center is because, young people globally, technology is available to them now. And when it's available to them, they embrace it. They want to be a part of it. And so we wanted to create an opportunity where they can not only learn how to professionally produce audio and video and different things, but also a place where we can disciple them and to continue teaching them the ways of Jesus. This camp launched, we actually inaugurated the facility yesterday, even though we've been here for a few days. What the original idea was, and then seeing it happen here in such an incredible way, because it's more than just the workshops we do and the practicums we do. It's the times when we're together, just at break times interacting, but the times we're having worship and devotion in the morning, and sharing. Our students are actually sharing their life stories and speaking at night, and as we have this worship together. And it's becoming more than just teaching media. And that's what the original thought was. This is an opportunity to teach media, yes, but also to deepen relationships that young people have with Christ. And it's an amazing thing to see. It really is, far exceeding the expectation we had of that original idea now more than 2 years ago.
I love that when I learned that we were only going to be actually at the camp for 5 days, my first thought was, how are we ever going to connect and teach and, show our devotion and faith in just 5 days? How's that ever going to work? But to my complete surprise, pleasant surprise, it's been amazing how fast everyone learns and communicates and connects with each other.
When I first came on this trip, I guess I thought that a lot of the focus was going to be on the media aspect. I didn't know. I knew for sure that we would be doing worship services at night with the campers. I didn't know that we would be doing worship in the morning to start the day off. And I think it's an amazing way to start the day off, worshiping all together and setting the tone for the day. But I guess what has amazed me is just how God has moved away those fears that I might not see him working here, but he's blown that away. I've seen that in the connections I've made with my prayer buddies. I've seen that in the way that our team members have responded. It's been an incredible thing, and I'm definitely going to be sad to leave this camp this place and the campers.
When I first signed up for this mission trip, I had no idea why I was going on this mission trip. I just felt like God calling me to do it, and now that I'm here, I've realized why, and I'm not the most tech-savvy person, so there are better people to be teaching the media stuff than me, but I think the reason I'm here is to make connections with people, not just the students here, but also my teammates.
Excellent stuff. So again, just the opportunity for you as parents to provide opportunities like this for your children, so vital in creating a Christian worldview, and that's a part of it. We're going to wrap up this faith segment here from Riobamba, Ecuador, and we're going to move into Music Matters. So in Music Matters, this is a segment where we celebrate the generational differences of music. We're both music people. We love music. And so the way this works is I bring a new song to Music Matters. Jake brings a sometimes new song.
It's my song of the week. I've kind of changed it from new song to song of the week.
Okay, that works. And then we go back in time, an oldie but goldie, and I pull one out from the past because I constantly been doing that as Jake has grown up and he's listening to my iPod and things. But that's what we do in Music Matters. Since we've had this theme, recording, of course, part of our segment in Ecuador during that media camp that we did with students, I'm going to continue the Spanish theme a little bit. A new song came out this week on iTunes, available. That is a mashup, English and Spanish, featuring For King and Country, their song God Only Knows, but it's called Solo Dios Sabe, which is God Only Knows in Spanish. And so it's For King and Country doing part of it in English, and then the Spanish worship band Miel San Marcos doing part of it in Spanish. So here's awesome. A little bit of the mashup.
God only knows how it's killing you, but there's a kind of love that God only knows. Solo Dios sabe tu pasado. Solo Dios sabe lo que
That's really cool. Another band, this isn't my song of the week, but Social Club Misfits.
Yeah.
Does a lot of Spanish.
They actually record all Spanish now, too, as well.
Oh, do they?
But they do have the mashup song of the song Tuyo.
Yeah.
Which we play Tuyo not only on our Spark channel, but also on our Bria channel, our Spanish radio channel. And you can hear that new song from For King and Country and Miel San Marcos on Bria.fm if you want to check that out.
Awesome.
Total shameless plug.
My song for the week is a song that I really fell in love with during the school year. It was in chapel. I first heard it. And it's called Defender by Jesus Culture, and it features Katie Torwald on it. This song has a few weird lyrics in the first verse, so a lot of people just skip over it. But it's talking about how God has already gone and fought our war and brings back the head of our enemies. And so people think it's too gruesome for a church setting, which I get. Here's a snippet of Defender by Jesus Culture featuring Katie Torwald.
I actually know that song. That's a great song. I like it. It's a good one. Yeah. Even though the lyrics are kind of odd in the first verse.
It's odd, but then after it, it's great.
Yeah. All right, it's time now to go back in time for our oldie but goldie. So we're going to take a trip back in time now to 1998, year before you were born. You didn't jump in there. I was surprised.
Oh, yeah, sorry. I was -1 years old.
Yeah, there you go. And we're going to go back to DC Talk. Many people know DC Talk.
I know DC Talk.
Of course, Toby McKeon, Toby Mac, Michael Tate with the Newsboys Now, Kevin Max.
Didn't they just do a cruise or something?
Okay, so here's the deal. This is why I'm bringing up this song from DC Talk.
Okay.
One, this is a song you won't be able to find on any DC Talk album.
Really?
Because it was on a special compilation project called Exodus, which was sort of modern worship at the time.
Ooh.
And so the reason I'm picking up this song is because, yes, they've done 2 Jesus Freak cruises now, one for the last 2 years. And at this cruise being interviewed, Michael Tate actually said that they will be doing a land, because they've been on a boat, a land tour in 2020, starting in 2020. And so we'll see, because I know the Newsboys are touring next spring. So how are they going to tour if DC Talk's touring? So it'll probably be in the fall next year. But, you know, these guys have teased this forever, that they've been on hiatus all this time. It'll eventually happen, and when it does, it's going to be monster big.
All of these bands that like were in the 80s and like 90s are just coming back, you know?
Well, I mean, they're all three very creative people, and they have an outlet to do creative things. And so we'll see. I think it's going to happen. But nonetheless, this song from 1998, it was the number 6 song that year. It's off of a project called Exodus, which is a great project. Lots of songs on there that you will be familiar with. This one's called My Will, DC Talk.
It's my will. I'm not moving. 'Cause if it's your will, then nothing can shake it.
I remember that one. I'm still a big Jesus Freak fan, but I remember that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good one.
That kind of came out between, like, Supernatural was launching about that time as well, which is another big album for them. But and actually, I think that was their last full project that they did before hiatus. All right, well, that wraps up Music Matters. And now it's time to move into a segment we call Culture Shock. So in Culture Shock, what we do is we find things that are happening in our culture with folks that are making a difference, and we like to share those. It can be an actor, a sports figure, just can be the average person doing something that's really cool. And that's what we celebrate during Culture Shock.
Average Joe Schmo.
The average Joe Schmo, that's what we say usually, yes. Training camp is happening now for the NFL football.
Yep.
And here at Olivet Nazarene University, where we produce our podcast, is the Chicago Bears summer home. So they're currently here practicing. So I thought I would do something related to football. Now, we saw a few weeks ago, there was a controversy with New England Patriots quarterback Tom Brady.
Yeah.
Apparently they were on vacation. They're somewhere in a tropical climate, and they're on this waterfall cliff area, and he cliff dives with his 6-year-old daughter, Vivian.
Yeah.
And people freaked out because the video was on Instagram. Why are you taking a 6-year-old off a cliff? If you look at the video, I mean, okay, I'm a guy. I've had all brothers. I've had all sons. And so I would totally do this with any of them. But I understand, you know, girls are different, supposedly. And she said she wanted to go, but then she was scared.
She was
and so he jumps and kind of pulls her off. But the cliff didn't appear that high.
Yeah, it wasn't.
And so people are still giving him grief about it nonetheless. So, but that story aside, I wanted to share a positive difference-making story with an NFL player. One of my favorite quarterbacks. I'm not necessarily a fan of the team. I'm a fan of him because he's a follower of Christ and making a difference, and that's the New Orleans Saints. Drew Brees, quarterback. News story that he's partnering with a church, Prestonwood Baptist Church in Texas, and they're starting a flag football league for youth at the church. And so Drew says that flag football is something I played until my freshman year of high school. I learned the fundamentals of the game through flag football and developed my passion for the game by participating in it. He says, what better environment to develop the understanding and the comfort and confidence level than flag football? Then once your body is ready, once you're physically developed enough, mentally prepared enough in order to have pads on, put a helmet on, and go tackle, you're much more ready. Now, there's controversy, of course, because of concussions, and we even have a league. You played in a league where kindergartners are full pads growing up. And so they're, you know, I think flag football is a great alternative. It's a safer alternative, and kids can
I started out with flag football.
You did, yeah.
I played in third grade flag football, and then 4th grade was tackle.
What I really like about this is, you know, not only Drew Brees partnering with this church in Texas to make this happen, but the pastor of this church, his name is Jack Graham, applauding the football ministry, because that's what it is. It's a ministry. He says the Great Commission can begin with a simple invitation. Hey, want to come play football this fall? And I love that. I love it when people are taking creative ways to make a difference in the kingdom of God and bringing people into their circle through different interests. And that's the reason why, you know, we've been at Ecuador the past 10 days doing a media camp. And that's what we've done. We've created an opportunity for teenagers and young adults to come to a camp where they're having fun. We have, you know, messy games and the whole bit during camp, but they're learning media production. But the whole purpose of it is discipleship. And so we have seen this week during this camp, every night, we have one of our students, our college students, who's speaking. I spoke the first night, college students speaking each night after that. And the altars have been lined because these campers are being fed spiritually as well, and it's making a difference. And lives have been changed from the folks who have attended this camp. And so I love it when we do creative things to help build the kingdom of God. So that wraps up Culture Shock. And also brings an end to this episode of The Kitchen Table.
The international episode.
International version. Thank you so much for the Media Discipleship Center in the city of Riobamba, Ecuador, where we recorded much of this podcast, and for just allowing us to be here and make a difference in the lives of people here in Ecuador. So awesome to have that experience. And of course, it also affects us and the team of college students that I took down as well, and how it made a difference in their lives, and really opened up the whole worldview differently when you have that kind of experience. And that's what this program has been all about, opening up the worldview, a Christian worldview, to our kids, and how important that is. So thanks very much for tuning in. Again, if you want to communicate with us.
Yeah, you can follow us on the Shine.fm Facebook page. There's a group under that. It's called The Kitchen Table. Just bring us some questions. Bring us some music that you want us to talk about or listen to. Bring us some culture shock that you see in your lives. So thank you for tuning in this week. Stay salty, y'all.